Thank you once again, Your Excellency, for that very thought-provoking presentation indeed. So, as we move forward, we now have our fireside chats. Okay, and to kick us off, we have Frictionless Finance, how AI is reinventing the global remittance landscape. So our moderator, Dr. Lolowa AlMarzooqi, Associate Vice Provost of York University Abu Dhabi, please come to the stage. And also our speakers, please. Guys, give a warm welcome. Come on, let's get the energy going. I know there's tea and coffee out there. You have no excuses. We have Amnah Ajmal, thought leader, public speaker, and top woman in Fintech. I do love that title indeed. And we have Bharathi Ganesh, Head of Research and Development and AI Literacy for Infosys Responsible AI Office. Again, welcome our most esteemed speakers to the stage.
So it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Dr. Lolowa AlMarzooqi. I'm the Associate Vice Provost at NYU Abu Dhabi. So it is really an honor to moderate this session. So reality, today's session is really touching a lot of people's hearts because it's about transferring money. One of the most sensitive issues around the world. Usually in the past, when we transfer money in the old days, we become so worried because there is a lot of friction, a lot of errors. And it's connected to our emotional side because we don't know if the money gonna get to our other side, to friends or family. But with the current days, when we speak about AI, everything is changed. Because AI made it such an easy thing. AI can reality detect fraud before it's happened. It's made it fast, quick, and we don't get worried as much as compared to the past. I don't know if that's good or bad thing. We're gonna learn more from our panelists. So I'm delighted today to be joined by two exceptional voices. Let me introduce first Amnah Ajmal, global fintech leader known for driving payment innovation and expanding inclusion across region. And I would like also to introduce Bharathi Ganesh, who lead research and development and AI literacy at Infosys Responsible AI Office, where she focuses on building AI systems that are both powerful and trustworthy. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So let's start the first question with Amnah. As fintech become increasing in a competitive world, how can companies use AI to personalize their remittance experience for migrant workers and communities without compromising financial security or privacy?
Hello, everyone. Am I audible? Okay, great. So I think AI should be used to personalize services in any industry, and it should not feel like spying. But I think all of us have experienced this notion that we're thinking of something and all of a sudden we go on our device and we see ads of that thing everywhere. You're like, how? I didn't even talk about it. I didn't tell anyone about it. And you keep figuring what's happening, right? And I think that's the world we live in today. I believe, and I'm a very passionate advocate, that as leaders, we have a lot of responsibility, especially in the field of technology, to see how responsibly we deploy that technology. And I think the next decade is going to be absolutely critical for the leaders, because it's not really about the technology. It's about keeping the humanity while you're deploying the technology. Remittances is an interesting area. As you said, moving money is a very critical part. And if you look at the population which is usually doing the remittances, they are the ones who have left their home, their families are far away, and they're working really hard to send that money back home, right? So I think it's one of the most emotional human experience. But if you bring the money to it, then everything becomes inhuman. And my vision is that your phone should be a fully functional bank in today's world, and it's a very highly likely possible outcome. So, in remittances, I don't think so far AI has really advanced many use cases. Remittance as an industry has evolved. I remember 9 years back when I was at Mastercard, we did a research for most of the GCC countries asking if the customers would prefer a digital remittance solution compared to queuing up in malls at Western Unions and MoneyGrams. Guess what did the customers say? No. They enjoyed the fact that they could go to a mall, they could meet a person. At times they would even get, some people also said they get a free pen. And like, how is a pen important when you're transferring money back home? Today, 60% of the remittances in the region actually are moving digitally. They are not going through the brick and mortar Western Unions and MoneyGrams of the world. That is itself a very important learning, that customers don't always do what they say and they don't always know what they want. Coming back to the AI chapter, I think there's some very powerful use cases, but there's a way to go. One of the use cases that I really, really like, in Latin America, a fintech adopted it, was that, in fact, rather than giving an example of Latin America, let me bring it here. So let's say there's a female housekeeper or a nurse from Philippines who's sending every 25th of the month a part of her salary back home for her kids' school fees, right? Now, AI doesn't need to identify people. It needs to identify patterns and associate that pattern to someone. If somebody looks at this data and sees that she does it on the 25th of every month and it's the same amount, actually you can trigger the best rate for that day, the best FX rate, to make sure that she has good savings when she's sending that money back home. If she's keeping money in the card or in the wallet, which is earning no interest, you can very easily guide her or him to say that for 15 days, we see that 1,000 dirham is just resting in your wallet or in your card or account. And it's better to put it in this product to start receiving interest. Now, these are very powerful examples where you're using AI for good and you're not compromising on the data and privacy, because you're really using it in a very personalized way and something that the person would be delighted to receive such a recommendation. At the end of the day, you have used their data, you have identified a pattern, but the outcome is really human. It's of course meeting your company's objectives of driving growth and profitability and all of that. I'm not saying don't drive the shareholder value, but it's very human, it's very personal, and it's something that matters to the person.
Thank you. I'm going to jump and ask you another question, which you mentioned, which really attracted my attention when you compare the past to the current. When customers said, no, we don't want, to move the currency to digital currency. What encouraged them to change that behavior? And do you think that they really know the value behind it from your experience?
So my 2 cents, because I'm also at times surprised, but history has repeated itself, right? When mobile phones came, the experiment failed in New York City because people were like, I want my phone in the house. Why would I carry it with me? It was like, why would I do that? I want my phone only in the house, right? So they're like, okay, customers don't want mobile phones, right? So I think usually until and unless you experience the simplicity and the value that the product can give you, it's hard for customers to intuitively imagine what that experience could look like, right? And after that, of course, there has to be marketing and word of mouth behind it. But for example, if I am able to send money back home, and let's say both of us work at the same place, you have to take out 3 hours, go to a mall, figure out your commute, stand in a queue, then send money back home, then make sure you call them, you tell them the PIN code, then make sure you see. Whereas I'm doing it in front of you on my phone in 1 minute, and I get a confirmation back in 1 minute. You'd be like, okay, there's something I'm missing out on. But that experience has to be cracked. It has to be perfect. It has to solve a problem, not time consuming, better rates, cheaper, faster, right?
Yeah, thank you so much. Here is another question, which is I'm going to move to our second panelist, which is it's about trust in AI system. How do we ensure every AI solution rolled out in finance go through a structured assessment that can build user trust and adoption?
So while we just heard Amna that AI is must and that is making our world better, and we all know, right? How the days before it's like I need to take 2 hours off to go to bank and do my things, and now it's just fraction of seconds. But then how do we make sure that it is trustworthy? So when we are developing the AI use case, right from the inception, right from the idea stage, we need to have this in mind that we are developing a safe and trustworthy AI solutions, because it's playing with human, as she said, it's playing with emotion and it's playing with money here in this case. So right from that first thing, we need to understand whether that's a low risk, medium risk, high risk, or is it a banned or a prohibited use case. And for the example that she was saying, that is definitely a high risk one, because we are talking about money transfers. So we need to have a very robust AI management system in place, which can first understand that what is the risk of that AI use case, and for that risk, what is applicable in terms of legality, what is applicable in terms of technical part of it, do we have enough technical guardrails for it, then what is applicable from the process perspective. For example, I'm developing a solution, and they are using it for money transfer. If it fails, right, a system can fail. So is it giving enough explanation for me that why it has failed, and how do I try it again, what has went wrong? Or even in case of glitches, I should not be in a stage of panicking. So what we need to do is we need to have a very robust end-to-end AI management system. That is, the development team should know that they need to get their AI use case assessed, understand the risk, then understand the gaps, and to fill in that gaps, here especially security plays an important role. The attackers should not be able to attack it. So they need to know that okay, there should be the guardrail for security. It should not be taking biased decisions, so there should be guardrail for bias. Yeah, it should have guardrails for explainability. There should be enough explanations for it. Then accountability, right? Somebody is developing these solutions, but who is accountable? So that should be very clear when we are rolling out these solutions. So the as a development team, okay, this is we should know, and we should go to this assessment, get end to end assessed, check the recommendation, and then implement those recommendation, get it reassessed, deploy that in production, and have a monitoring system in place, which in production does a very thorough monitoring and flag all the issues, and if there is an issue we should go back and correct it. And okay, fine, everything is done in place. If I have an issue, right, as a final end user, then there should be a AI crisis management system. I should know that where I should go and flag this issue, right? Who is the concerned department whom I should reach? So when we are rolling this AI solution, if we can take care of this end to end from inception till production and then post production, then we are good. We are playing good.
That's amazing. Honestly, that's music to my ears. It's a so sophisticated process. Now, let me come back to you and ask you, definitely with the AI, we always talk about the glory part of it. And there is an underserved market. How do you see AI enabling financial inclusion for the underserved market?
So I think I know this is an AI conference, but even without AI, I would say there's a lot of financial inclusion that has been driven by non-traditional financial institutions, and I think Africa is a great case study where 80% of the GDP of the country, like Kenya, is moving on mobile money rails. So I'm a very passionate believer that in our part of the world, telcos would drive a great part of financial inclusion, and AI would help accelerate it because they are a telco, but because of the distribution and the trust and the data that they have on the GSM side, they are able to launch a fintech arm, have mobile money wallets, do micro lending, do insurances, and they're doing it at the back of the very powerful data that they have. And now you layer AI on top of it, it becomes extremely powerful because you don't have human beings mining these databases to understand that this person needs a $100 loan or this person needs a $20 loan. You just accelerate it. And I think big banks, in terms of underwriting, risk control, criteria, are least ideally positioned to drive financial inclusion. So that's one. Second, if I just look at technology, I mean, AI is like internet, 10 years down the road, it would be like everything is AI. I don't think so we will have a topic of AI as such, right? Like after internet came, people stopped talking about internet for a while. So I think I really believe in the multilingual bots. You can do like thousands of use cases of AI, but I think this is a powerful one. Imagine someone in Nairobi, either unable to read or write or unable to communicate in any other language other than their own local language. In India, somebody in a small remote village only talking to in their own local language. Imagine if this farmer in Nairobi says, transfer 200 shilling to my seed supplier, and it's done. The AI fraud controls are embedded in the bot. The language capability to talk to the multiple parties that are involved in transferring the money is being handled by the bot. So if I have to go and do this in person or do it over the phone, right, I need to have the ability to read, to write, to talk in those languages, and all of that gets bypassed. And it's extremely powerful. So I think multilingual bots could be a great example to scale inclusion, especially in countries which are massive population and scale, and not everybody has the same literacy rate or the proficiency. That would be a good example. Telcos work in Africa, and also over here we have a great example of EAND branching out into fintech entities. That's a great example because they do not have the legacy infrastructure that big financial institutions carry. They are more agile. Digital is the only way they're born with, so it's easier for them to do that. And also, I think to drive inclusion, it's not just enough that people have a bank account or a wallet, right? At the end of the day, most of these are SMEs, probably more on the S side than the M side, right? So you need to inject cash flow. They should be able to raise capital to grow their business. And this remains a unsolved problem in many countries in the world, right? And I think fintechs, telcos, micro-lending institutions who can leverage the data and start underwriting these customers on small ticket size is powerful. But to underwrite, you first need to have their business in a digitized way. If I'm dealing in cash all the time, I'm excluded from the digital economy. I'm excluded from growing my business. I'm excluded from ever getting a loan from a bank or anybody else to grow my business, right? So the first step is digitization of the business itself, and then getting into the financial ecosystem, first with an account or a wallet, and then with lending, insurance, and other products.
Thank you. That's really enlightening. And so expansion is important, inclusion is a must, but as you explained so clearly, it will require rework before we jump to the inclusion. That will move me to ask our second panelist about what key steps should companies take to ensure AI literacy is high amount, both to the technical team and the customer service team who manage the remittance.
Yeah. So when we are developing, when we say AI literacy, it is persona based, right? What the builder needs to know, AI builder, that's different from what a development team needs to know, what an end customer support team needs to know, what an end customer should know. So it is persona based purely. So at the leadership, if we start right from the beginning, at the leadership level, okay, they should know that, okay, this is when we are building AI, what solution should we using? Should we do it the classical AI, or should we do with generative AI? Should we do it agents? We should not be overdoing also. In a place where I could have just used a large language model using a generative AI, I should not be going and building it in agents because everybody is talking about agents. So that awareness should be there at the leadership. And when we come to how do we develop it safely, they need to know that, okay, this is at a very high and a broad level. They need to know the various threats that is there, the various factors that can come, what I was saying, explainability, fairness and bias. The one she was saying that we can't exclude anybody, right? There should be inclusivity. So they should be knowing that their AI solution should be fair. So at that broad level, they need to know at leadership level. Sorry. So when it comes to the mid level, right, what they need to know is that, okay, what are the different AI solutions that is available in the market, and what each solutions can do. Can I get a AI solution for compliance? Can I get a AI solution? Okay, this is which can tell me that, okay, this is how should be my legal contracts. When I'm subcontracting that development, how should be my legal contract within the contract, what should be in the clauses, that and different. Okay, what is my regulations of the region? So that is the mid-level team that needs to know. And when it comes to the development team, they need to be hands-on, right? There are so many open source solutions, and we are spoiled for choices. There are so many models, and models are just coming every other day. So they should have that awareness that, okay, this is what is the model, what should be the token size that they can use it. And even when it comes to safe and secure, there are so many companies which are developing, what is the AI management system should I use? Should I use IBM Watsonex governance or Credo.ai, different other things. They should have the awareness to the core technical part of it, that what should I be using it. They should be having that hands-on. So it is purely persona based. And and when it comes to customer support, she was quoting an example of customer support of translation, right? They can be speaking different languages. On a production call, right? For example, if you are speaking Spanish and I don't know Spanish, but I'm responding to you, so I'm using an AI solution where you speak, and then I have a translator, and that is translating. But I should have that confidence that whatever I'm going to respond to you is correct, right? So at the runtime, I should be able to see that for your question, when the AI solution is pulling the response from various documentation, I should have that awareness that it should not just pull the information, but it should give me the source from where it is pulling, which document, which paragraph, and it should have an English explanation for me to give me that confidence that that answer is correct, right? There should be an accuracy score for it, saying that I am 99% or 100% sure that this is the response, and that should happen in fraction of second, right, on the go, and I can explain to you. So the customer support team at their level, they should have that awareness that I should not just be given an AI solution, but that AI solution should have these 1, 2, 3, 4 factors, and only then I'll be able to use that confidently. So it is persona based.
Thank you. It's so clear how really you are into process, and every step is so complicated. And to us, as end users, we feel like it's a piece of cake. It's we give the money, it's transferred, the other member will receive it. But it's not that. It's go through a whole process. Multilingual is it's a critical. I always get fascinated about wow, such a system can switch from one language to another. So is the process the same? It's applied on different languages. This is someone who's not technical, someone who's just looking at the whole, screen of transferring the whole thing. But really, I'm curious personally. I'm curious now to understand if we switch from one language to another, is the process will be changed a bit, or it's the same process?
It will be the same process. It's based on that, how we have trained that model, right? So there should be a real-time training that has happened. For example, if it is a very rare speak language, I'll take one of the language of like India. If it is like Gujarati, right? I should not just go by books that that language. I should have that local translation done from that region, and I should have trained that model. And then even before it goes live, I should have done a bias testing for it, right? It should not be getting biased for like there should not be gender bias or region bias. All that I should be taking care, because it's all about data and training that is happening. So when you ask that question, that is there a difference, there is a difference in terms of like we need to make sure that specifically for that region or for that group or privileged group or underprivileged group, the difference comes there. Otherwise, the underlying technical factor, it is the same, like one language I'm translating to another, but the data needs to be correct.
Thank you. So, Amna, what role does governance play in accelerating the adoption of AI? Real-time cross-border payment. What is the key policy lever needed to unlock this need?
Thanks. I just wanted to add on something that you said about the language capability. For SMEs also going back, it's extremely important. I was talking to the CEO of Trendyol, the Turkish marketplace, which now entered GCC also. And they told me they are onboarding some suppliers, for example, from a country like Hungary. Hungarian is not a language which is actually spoken in any other part of the world, like a French or a Spanish, right? And that SME only speaks Hungarian. Now, his business is confined to that country because of the language. But what Trendyol did was that they had a multilingual bot which would talk to this Hungarian SME and prepare their products for being put on this English Trendyol site, and also handle the customer service. The customer would talk about the product in English. They will convert it into Hungarian, pass it on to the supplier. They would then answer. So imagine the huge, massive opportunity that you have unlocked for this small business owner who is in one part of the world. So I just wanted to add that example as to how you can really unlock the economies of the country based on this. Coming to your boring question now, governance is so boring most of the time, but I think it's never more important than in today's world. I think there are 2-3 things that I would talk about. AML and KYC, I think that's where automation and AI is really, really required. It's still a lot of human-dependent based processes that are there, and it's still prone to error, and it's very confined to the geography. So if KYC and AML is not interoperable, we will be confined to local payment opportunities and local payment options. So for example, if we have a domestic switch for debit in UAE, right? But here in UAE, Emirates ID is being used for KYC, right? Let's say the important corridor is, I'm making it up, it's like UAE and India uses a different ID to do KYC, which is perfectly normal. Every country in the world would have their own KYC process. But if this information is not interoperable, right, and not done in a highly governed framework, then all these ecosystems will remain confined to their countries. Because you go to a new country, or you are dealing with a supplier from another country, you will have to do the KYC, you will have to understand the documents again, and that's, I think, a huge complication in moving money. So I think the KYC and AML needs to be automated. There needs to be effort done, at least in cluster of markets, like you could do for East Africa, you could do for West Africa, you could do for GCC countries, right? The KYC processes need to get bit interoperable. And the third thing I would say with governance is that you should have some standardized governance framework. Like Europe, in a way, is a good example, right? When EU introduced the payment directive, every country has a certain day to implement it, right? It is implemented in every country. So I think some governance specifically for AI needs to be done at regional level and not left to individual markets. First of all, not every market is as advanced, has the policy makers and the regulators who would be able to stay ahead of the technology. So copy paste is not a bad solution. Having common regulatory frameworks, this will advance governance. Because if we think technology is hard for us to understand, or our parents, people who are sitting in, I am not making a comment on the capability, they're highly intellectual driven individuals, but imagine how hard it is for the regulators to keep up to pace with all the technology. Like I was talking to the chairman of VARA and at one of the Fireside Chats, and it has done a phenomenal job. It has rewritten the way crypto works for the rest of the world. Like UAE is like a shining example of how it should be done, right? Many other countries across the world are copying it, but it's not easy for regulators to keep up to pace with all these technologies, right? So I think common governance frameworks that you can pick up. Okay, in Singapore, this is working really good. Let's copy paste it in all the GCC countries. Or it's working very well in UAE. Let's roll it out in all the GCC markets. I think common governance frameworks are important because you cannot leave it to every country to figure their own governance. Money doesn't move without governance. If I order from a coffee from Costa, I know when the driver is entering my street. I know when the driver is coming to my house. I move money. I don't know where it's gone. So how can I actually, coffee moves in today's world, I know exactly where my coffee is, when it left the restaurant, when it went to the rider, where is it right now. But you can move millions, you will not know where your millions is, right? So that's because if you're transferring specifically from one country to another, the governance, there's no aligned governance framework.
So here is a question for both panelists. You spoke about the importance and you showed us the good side of having common framework, okay? However, what's the negative side of it?
I think if it's done in, it's complicated. It's not easy. Governments have to join hands, regulators, policymakers, technologists. So it's not easy. I'm not saying it's an easy job to be done. I think the negatives are much less than staying isolated. Because if you look at Africa also, a lot of countries have their own domestic switches. I'll give you a real example, right? They're very, very powerful. So if I'm in Nairobi or I'm in Ghana or I'm in Lagos, I can transfer money to you right now and the money moves like messages, okay? Like I'm texting you, the same way I can move money, right? It's so easy. But it's confined to the local geography. Now, if I have to move money from Lagos to Nairobi, it's a completely different story. The experience changes. So, if you have to harmonize that, you need to work towards open loop payment systems, and you need to have governance that's standardized to some extent. And the negative of staying isolated in your own domestic closed loop world, on your SMEs, on the backbone of your economy, on the digitization of your infrastructure, is much more than any negative of being tied to a common framework. It may reduce the pace of innovation. It could be a very possible outcome. It may delay certain advancements of technology for you. But I think, in my view, it's the right price to pay.
So I agree, and we can't agree more on this point, right? It may take time. It is difficult because regulations, a common overarching regulation across the globe is difficult. But especially when it comes to the topic that we are saying, where we are moving money from one part of the world to the other part of the world, it is very important that we have common regulations. Probably for the challenges, maybe like based on the region, okay, we can have saying that this is the standard one which everyone should be adhering, but these are some delta things, okay, that should be adhered, okay, this is by this country, by this region. Probably we can add on it, but I don't see any challenges or any drawback I mean, there are challenges, but there are no drawbacks in having it. But we are still not there, frankly speaking. It's a long way, but that's the only way, towards which we should all be working to have a common regulation.
Let's come to my question to you again about what new risks do AI introduce and how we can ensure they remain safe, trustworthy, and compliant?
So, with technology, like we get excited, right? With agents coming in, we are all excited about the autonomy part of it. Like, when it comes to car, the autonomous car, okay, this is when it comes to the agents, the delivery that she was doing, that, when I just think of pizza, if an agent can order, if an agent can know what kind of a pizza I need to eat at this time, at this hour, and what my kids will like, if an agent can just go and order it and get it all to me, that those use cases sounds very exciting in this agentic era. But when we are doing that, the agent knows my card details. It knows a lot of my personal details. So it should not be doing or using it wrongly. Have I taken care enough of privacy in it? Is my privacy getting leaked? What the taste of my pizza when it gets leaked? That's not a big issue. But the card details that it has, where I have given it, it is autonomous. There is a lot of autonomy power the agent has. That should not be leaked, and that should not be ordering your pizza as well every time it orders a pizza for me, right? So the privacy part of it has to be taken care. And for whatever we have built the agent, like I as a developer, I would have built an agent, and I know that, okay, it can access this tool. It can do here in this database, it has only read access, it has only view access, and this is the super agent, only this can write. I as a developer, I would have done all of these things, right? But at runtime, right, when the agent is actually running live, there should be somebody or something which is taking care that those policies are met. So we need to have those runtime enforcement. So again, we rely on the technology. We need to have another agent which is monitoring this agent, right? Which knows that, okay, this agent one is built for so and so, it can access these tools, okay, it has these restrictions, and it can be hosted there. Its purview is only, this is its boundary in which it needs to operate, and all of that, which is a language for me, right? That should be codified by another agent, and it should be executing, and when it is going beyond that boundaries, it should be able to stop, it should fail, and there should be an explanation again that, okay, why the agent execution failed, because it is crossing. And the privacy part of it, like, the data should be encrypted. The encryption depends on how you want to do it, right? You can mask it, you can just hashify it, or you can just put a different name, or my card number can be masked, and all of it. The underlying technology could be different, but the data that is moving on the network, that should all be encrypted. So with agents, definitely we are getting into a lot more issues, because more the power, more the issues. But we need to make sure that understand first. I usually call it as 3D, right? First, define what the issues are, agent issues are. Okay, and then understand how do I detect those issues. And then third is, what is my defense mechanism for it. So I need to have, because when the technology is higher, even defining that what the issue is a bigger problem, right? So define, detect, and then defense. When we have put this 3D mechanism for these agents, and when I know that there is a 3D mechanism for this agentic solution, okay, this is then that trust factor comes in, right? So we should not just sell AI use case, but we are selling trust, right? So that should be taken care.
So I'm acting now here as a devil advocate. You spoke about AI agents. You spoke about data, how it's the asset more than even just the currency itself. We build structure, process, we do the testing, we do whatever it's needed to secure the whole thing, to build the trust. But then, why we still have a leak of information and leak of, like recently, 2020, current year, we got a financial leak, 700,000 Emirates ID. It has been posted, so it's not something, confidential. has been leaked on the market. We got another bank whose customers' data has been sold on the dark web. What we supposed to do is to stop that, and are we gonna stop it?
First of all, we have to agree and believe and admit bad guys, as my son says, run faster than you. They run faster than the good guys. Before a technology is even out there, someone somewhere has cracked actually how to bypass that and what is the loophole in there. Okay? So the only way you can actually, not as a consumer, but I'm talking more about the leadership and the firms, right? Can offset that is partnering with companies who actually are in the space of cybersecurity and not looking at the return on investment for these different kind of technologies. You should always have a champion challenger running for your cybersecurity upgrades. Always keep on investing in this side of the business. Because you may say that 5 years back I just upgraded my system, I have the best technology. It's not good enough, because you would see now that the detection of how you're holding the phone, the thumb, it's no longer a new technology, Detecting fraudster because I put my thumb on A and now the fraudster has my device and he's using not the thumb for the A. So the only way you can stay ahead is to keep on evolving your security systems through different upgrades. And you see a lot of AI advancements in the field of cybersecurity, risk, fraud detection. But you need to see not only those companies building the solution, you need to see the massive, big institutions adopting that technology and not staying stuck to, I did this investment 5 years back, 10 years back, so my system is ready. As technology progresses, you have to have this as it's a cost of doing the business, right? And you have to take it as a cost and stop actually thinking about ROIs and returns on these products. It's the era in which we live in. If AI can save you cost in millions of dollars by automating a lot of tedious activities, it can also cost you billions through fraud, because our whole life now is online. Everything is digital. And once it's there, I always tell people it's always there. No, but I deleted it, I removed it. No. Once it's digital, it's always digital. You can never ever remove every trace of information once it's digital.
Yeah. So this is a space, definitely, right, which is a great opportunity, because we all know that there is a problem on the table, that our privacy is getting leaked. So how do we ensure that it's not leaked, or how can we control, if not make it zero, right? We need to have enough testing in this space. While I say that, while I'm reading that read consent while deploying an app or entering the data in any form, I just read it and say that, okay, we are not saving your data, or only we will use the only these essential part and rest of it. But there should be somebody who is making sure in the back end that it is deleting it. Because it's not just about reading. Is the technology vetted behind that? Okay, it's not saving every data, even if it is saving for processes. Is there a process which goes and delete it after 3 days? Okay, this is seven days, or whatever it is. So there should be a thorough red teaming that should be done on those applications. So when I say red teaming, it is ethical hackers. So for what she was saying, right, that's obvious that the bad guys runs faster than the good. So what I should be doing is I should be a better bad guy, right? So I should be ethical hacker of hacking and breaking my own systems. So how we do it is, we run various hackathons, we invite people, we throw challenges with great gifts, we ask them to break it. Right? And obviously, if my system is not at all breaking, then that is robust enough, and that is rare in the first case. First case, it's they may struggle, they may take a little time, but they break it and come back and show that, okay, there is a privacy issue in this, right? There is a jailbreaking issue in this. So we need to have those ethical hackers who can break it, which is human part of it, and the other part of it is using technology itself. using AI and asking, because AI can do everything. That's what we are saying, right? Using AI itself, have an AI agent. Okay, there are various solutions in the market, and ask it to break. There are various algorithms that has come, like, there is an algorithm called pair, or there is an algorithm called tap. We need to rely on those algorithms and break our systems, and then generate a report and see that, what are the loopholes, what are the gaps in my system. Then also auditing is required, right? While okay, everything is in place, is there enough auditing that is happening so that my privacy data is not getting leaked? There should be sampling. Like obviously, we will not be able to audit every AI solution like 10 out of 100, depending on whatever the capacity and whatever the risk is. There should be enough auditing that she needs to be happening. It should be flagged, right? And there should be a course correction of these issues.
You mentioned something really interesting when you said before you download any app, read the consents. I'm going to come back to our audience. How many member here, they really read? We don't read, so we need to start reading. It's before just clicking, I approve, download. That's lesson number one. And reality, you're right, we don't read. Maybe because we over trust technology. That will really encourage me to ask you, Amna, what breakthroughs do you expect to define the next generation of cross-border payments?
Cross-border payments are hard. Once money leaves the geography, you again get into issues of two institutions talking to each other, two different set of IDs talking to each other. Each jurisdiction has its own regulations. I think open banking is a great path forward, coupled with AI to accelerate payments and also make cross-border payments easier. But it does require for different geographical jurisdictions to have some kind of common standards, and then that data governance to be built in to the point. How long are you storing the data? Did I give you the consent for that? Is the consent for storing the data only and offering me products and service, or actually is the consent to move my money payments, or is the consent for a particular type of service only, be it remittance or insurance? So I think common data governance, opening up open banking systems for cross-border payments, digitizing, as I said before, your AML, KYC, and then maybe doing it by corridors. So if I know that my biggest corridor is, let's say, India, China, UAE, Nigeria, working on those corridors to simplify the processes and then actually scaling them before you go for the rest of the world. That could be a step forward. But yeah, cross-border payments, especially in the B2B space, they are hard to crack.
But then how can we stay fair and bias-free?
Well, I think the governance standards are usually vetted by the regulators. So you should have the trust that the regulators, mostly in every part of the world, are working for the best interest of the customer. They are not siding with the institutions and shareholders to make sure they make money and the shareholder are happy with the share price. They're usually there to protect the customer interest, right? That's why I always say that think of regulation very optimistically, because it will help you innovate your business in ways that you cannot think of.
Let me move to ask you about what specific measures must be taken on the R&D level to ensure these models do not introduce or amplify financial bias against specific nationality demographic groups.
So it's in the entire life cycle, like we should be taking care of by us right from the data part of it, to make sure that while I have the data, but is there a bias within the data itself, because that's what the model is going to get trained. So I need to remove that bias in the data stage itself. And later there could be a human led bias, like the labeling part of it. there could be issues in the labeling part of it, and then because of those issues, am I introducing a bias, right? And then later, okay, this is in the usage part of it, like I'm using that, and because, for example, a specific age or specific region is using, there is a learning, there is a continuous learning because model do learn. So the model should not get deviated from what it is being built because of the usage of that use case. So there could be a production bias. Like, I have developed a system which I have tested, and I have a bias report wherein it says that it is a fair system, but in runtime, okay, there is a bias that is happening, and for that we need to have like continuous monitoring bias system where it is continuously monitoring and see that is there a drift, has the model drifted from what it is being built because it is learning something at the runtime. We should make sure that, and when we are building the system, like we should make sure that the age, gender, region, all that is considered. And also on top of it, we should also make sure that something called as true positive and false positive, wherein it should not be giving a overweightage for a set of members, and it should not be ignoring underprivileged team. When we take care of all these things, okay, we'll be able to build but it is a very very critical area, especially when it comes to bias, because it's nothing like 100% right and 100% wrong, right? We can flag systems because some systems are built by nature or it needs to be like that. We can flag it, and then it is up to the development team to take that decision, that is there really a bias which I need to omit, or no, it's built like this and it needs to get into production like this. It's a very very critical area when compared to, when among all the risks that I said on AI, this bias is a very sensitive, I wouldn't say critical, probably sensitive area.
So, since we have both of you as exceptional leaders in fintech, what's your advice or your final thoughts for us?
Well, as a parent, I think first, and maybe being in the field of technology, being in the field of financial services, interacting with the dark web teams, having seen what is going out all there. First of all, I would say that no matter how tempted you are, do not put your children on social media. And by this, I mean two things. Do not put their photographs over there. And secondly, as long as you can keep them, trust me, they will learn AI and they will be ahead of you. As long as you can keep them away from the devices, keep them. I feel as parents, our jobs are much harder than what our parents were. Because we have to protect our children not only in the physical world, but in a digital invisible world. And you can't protect your children from something that's invisible. So I always think first as a parent and then as a leader or in my other roles. I would say as a leader, I think humanity has never been more important than in today's time. AI will take us to some place. Maybe it's a new place, maybe it's a better place. I think the key question that all of us need to answer is, who do we become when we get there? I need to think about that every day.
So we should not be allowing AI to overpower us, right? We should be the center of it, and it should only enable it, amplify our capability. So it should be human-centric AI. So as long as we understand and we convey this message, I think we are good in this space. It cannot overpower us.
Sorry, I will also say AI cannot do everything. Make my children listen to me, then I'll believe you can do everything.
I hope that AI can encourage a student to listen to us. True. So, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this discussion. Really, I look at it as educational, inspiring, more than any. I came at the beginning and I thought, oh, this is fintech. That's going to be so technical, driven, complicated. But I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for our panelists. And thank you for the audience. I really appreciate you being here, being an active listener. Thank you so much. And if you have any question, please let us know.
Yeah. While she's asking question, we have the booth right there. I'm part of Infosys and the booth opposite is here. So whatever the solutions that I was speaking for agents or AI or compliance, okay, this is you can understand more from us in the booth.
Hi, good afternoon. So you did mention about a sort of bias included in leveraging of AI. So I'm just thinking that in the long run, would the AI impact the human so much that the humanity would be, humans would be devoid of the humanity and would more of become artificial, or would that be a risk of leveraging a lot into AI, or would we be able to make AI more human centric?
No, I don't believe that AI can overpower us. I'll take a simple example which I was saying of hacking, right? So when we used AI for hacking, the best of algorithm we used, right? And we got the result wherein it said that out of 100 attacks that I did, 98 passed, the AI system passed, and only 2 failed. So you have to fix only 2 issues. And then we said, no, we'll not go with this. We'll put now humans to break it. And we used humans. At our surprise, it was somewhere around 60-40 that, 60, they were able to do 60 attacks and only 40 went through. So humans are always better. So it can, and it is all about data, right? It only learns and understands based on what is available in data and how much we teach, but it cannot overpower us. And for the human centric, that is all from us, right? There is somebody behind, and that's why all the compliance or standards or regulations is there, which draws the boundary of the AI system. And it's not a checklist to say that I've adhered to this regulation, but we need to keep that in mind that it's going to impact our life, right? So as long as we are adhering it, considering ourselves, forget our colleagues and rest of the world. As long as we are developing and deploying, considering ourselves, okay, we are doing the right thing in this space.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Rakesh Shukla from New Delhi, India. Ma'am, just a question here. We are at the peak of generative AI ecosystem now. When generative AI system is being taken over by the agentic AI is not giving you any liberty, any control, any command. What will happen then? Amna ma'am.
So I do believe that agentic AI is a reality, but I also don't think it's a switch of on and off. I think it's a spectrum, and we are at a very early stage of that spectrum. It has a long way to go through, and I think people are more scared of it because that's basic human nature. I'm not. I think human leadership would play a critical and important role. And the book that I've written, and I'm still waiting for the publishing, I've written 2 chapters only about this, because I think if you remember when there was I don't know if you remember, but when calculators came out, teachers protested. No, this is the death of education, and they protested against the calculators. There were national newspaper talking about how internet is going to be the death of humanity. Our lives are being taken away from our hands. Machines would control it. We still are there. We're very much human. I also think, don't get me wrong, I'm not undermining the power of agentic AI, but at times we think that the whole AI is some aliens discovered it and they gave it to us and they left the planet. No, it's us. As she said, we are training these models. We are giving them the data. We are giving them the context. So I believe it's not the end of the world as people portray agentic AI to be. Use cases are to be seen yet. Use cases have to scale. It's not a switch of an on and off. It's a spectrum. We're at the early stage of the spectrum. New leadership models would come out. Leadership will be much more important in technology companies, in financial institutions, in healthcare, in academics, for this technology to be applied. And more importantly, after all of that, there are regulators, there are policymakers, there are governments whose job is to protect the customers and the consumers. So I think there's a lot of good left, you know. It won't be the end of the world.
Guys, again, yes, please, a round of applause. And can I just ask you to just stay on the stage just for 2 seconds? We're going to have a little photo opportunity. Thank you so much.